Hey everyone, this is Lee Jackson. Welcome back to our Circle podcast. And I'm so excited to introduce to you to our special guest today. And that is Jay Vickers, which is the COO of UNLV's Sports Research Innovation. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
Great. Thank you
Good.
so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to be talking to you and to learn more about you and learn about more of the programs that's going on in UNLV.
Absolutely.
But I do want to start to get, on the personal side. Why don't we talk about Jay Vickers and about your role and what you're doing, fun things you're doing at UNLV.
I tell you what, it's one, thank you again for having me today. Really excited to be here and to represent UNLV and the great work we're trying to do in our growing economy in Las Vegas. UNLV is truly a stronghold as it relates to academic excellence. As a top-tier research institution here in our city, one of the fastest growing universities in the country. For 7-8 years running, we're the most diverse university in the country. Considering
I
that,
did hear that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, very good.
We're very proud in Vegas to have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And considering a third of our students are first gen, so that's a special place for me as that goes back to my own history and career and as a student athlete, as well as my trajectory as far as my professional life. So I get back to that. But we also have a third of non-traditional students. And that really puts us in a unique position to really have an impact on our community. Okay. And that's something that all of our leaders on our campus, started with our president on down, really focus on how we can truly make an impact. Mm-hmm. And we've made an impact as relates to hospitality, gaming. Look at our strip. We have the best training for that, which is why these programs are ranked number one in their respective categories in our country. And so what we're looking to do through Sports Research and Innovation Initiative is have that same impact as our city is going through, as many will call a sports renaissance. And that sports renaissance includes first the Vegas Golden Knights. Right. It's from a professional standpoint, as well as now with the Raiders and the first professional championship team, the WNBA, which is our ACES. Okay. And so when you look at that and the emergence of other sports that are coming to our city, the majority of the events that are coming, you can truly say we're going through a sports renaissance, which hasn't really quite happened in any other city throughout our lifetime. Wow. And so it puts us in a unique position to really do some great things. But before all those sports teams came, there was a small school at the time that had national prominence, and that school was UNLV, and they're running Rebels. And so how we can continue to grow on that marketing and that brand is by educating our students and prepare them for the workforce that we're starting to see change here in Las Vegas. So through our department, we definitely have the opportunity to not only educate our community and our students about the great work they can do in this space, but they can also understand that we do great work as it relates to innovation and research in the space of sports. We've been very lucky to know that we've identified over 130 plus full-time faculty members. This is 3-year-old data that are involved in sports-related research and innovation.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of things that we've done thus far, whether it's in brain research and our PGA Golf Management Program, which is one of 18 in the country, and I would strongly say the number one PGA Golf Management Program in the country, led by our Executive Director, Chris Kane. But we also have other areas that have done just tremendous job, whether it's sports psychology, esports, which is one of the fastest growing sports in our country,
really?
In the world from that standpoint. There's a lot of great things happening.
Okay.
And so the ability to create a platform to showcase the great work that our students and our faculty are doing is really job number one.
So how did you end up at UNLV? I know you went to Notre Dame for a few years. Talk about that.
Both schools do very well in that they prepare students for their careers, for their life, and give them an opportunity to truly be successful and reach their dreams.
Yeah.
So I can say that both schools do a very good job of that. I was very fortunate to be in a position where I was highly recruited, but more importantly, to have family, mom and dad, that said, look, regardless of how gifted you are athletically, you must keep your grades up. So that gave me the opportunity to have, the opportunity to really look at several different schools, regardless of their academic expectations.
Well, tell everyone what position you played and what sports.
I play running back, so obviously that's football. So
I know that.
I would say
I'm a football fan. I know
I would
that.
say American football. I'm one of the founding members of Game Changers United for U.S. Soccer Federation.
Okay.
And so I always joke, say I'm the only football player on that committee.
Yeah.
And they always laugh because obviously they call soccer football.
Yeah.
And
so have you been following soccer?
I have, absolutely.
Okay.
So I do follow soccer. Excited about the World Cup and what's happening there. But going back to your initial question, I chose Notre Dame after being recruited by several different schools. I wanted to do something very different. As a first-generation college student, I wanted to have the ability to meet people from around just other places. Growing up, I traveled through Florida and Georgia, but I had never been on a plane. So going on a recruiting trip was my first plane ride at that standpoint. And lo and behold, my first plane ride was to Notre Dame. So, so it was a long plane ride, I do remember, but I was really excited to get there after a lot of prayers, and we landed. But the people I met and the diversity that was there on that campus is what really, and I felt that tradition that you always hear about, the mystique of Notre Dame. So for me, it was real. Okay. May that be real to others, but it was real to me. Okay. And I wanted to be in a position where I felt like they cared about not only what I would do in the next 4 years, but also for the next 40 years. Yeah. And so they really made me feel welcome, and also made me feel as if they were interested not only in my present, but also in my future.
What was the mystique?
The mystique of Notre Dame is, you just kind of feel the tradition on campus. All the buildings look alike. There's a lot of history there. I'm a little bit of a history buff when it comes to those type things. Okay. So it was interesting to see just how they held on to that past, but with the ability to move forward. And so I was really interested in that. Okay.
Yeah. A UT girl.
There's nothing wrong with that. I will say, the Tennessee has you've seen a reemergence of what they do right now, especially in football and also the other sports. And I think it starts with leadership. And one of the things that I'm proud to say is that the leadership that they have there now, and the athletic department is led by Danny White, who is their new director of athletics. And I'm also happy to say that he's a Notre Dame alum. So
you had to put that one in there, didn't you? But that's okay. I mean, Notre Dame is a great school. So you mmust be a really good running back.
Not anymore. Maybe at one point in time in my life. But again, it is, and I will tell you, every school is great. They all have the same mission, which is to prepare young people for quality lives and have a quality impact on their respective communities. So I would say all universities should have that same vision and mission and what they're trying to accomplish. How I got to UNLV probably started very, I would say, non-traditional. I never thought I would work in higher ed. I didn't know much. As a first-generation college student, I didn't know much about what careers were there. Yeah. What would be, I just looked at what I saw on TV or what was basic, things of that nature, and just wasn't sure what to do next. Luckily, I was able to get out of my comfort zone, communicate with different alums, different people, and try to identify what career path I should take. And in doing so, that allowed me the opportunity to really learn more about different positions. And so I ended up working in the private sector and had the ability to work for 3 Fortune 500 companies. Okay. Respectively, Gallo Wines, Hershey Foods, and Pfizer. Great companies.
Great companies, yes.
Taught me a lot about relationship management, how to work with people, sales, and et cetera. But my passion was still, and my interest was elsewhere. Yeah. Meaning I wasn't quite sure what the guys, as I would say, the guys in the suits were doing on the sidelines at our games. Yeah. And so I was curious to learn more about that. And so I spoke to some other alums that were working within that industry, specifically at Ohio State, Gene Smith. He educated me at that time on, what exactly is those guys doing? And I learned about fundraising. Okay. I learned about sponsorships and development in that space. It really intrigued me. Yeah. And I felt a great way for me to give back to something I love, which is sports, and then the career path it put me on was I can be that mouthpiece, if you will, and go out and speak to donors about the impact they can have on young people. And so I got into development, started at Fresno State with the help of Danny White at the time. Then from there, went on to the University of Arizona. Then was able to transition to University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV.
Okay.
We're able to accomplish some great things here. Found myself at University of Wisconsin. Then at Northern Illinois University. And you see these career paths as you try to move up in this industry. And so you do have to be pretty open for that. But then I was faced with something that for the first time in my career that I wasn't faced with. I was married, and my wife was pregnant. But we were commuting for the last 2.5 years. That she's also an employee at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, as she serves as the COO and CFO of the UNLV Foundation. And we were commuting, just two people trying to be successful in the industry. And I said, you know what? We need to do this in Las Vegas. If we're going to have this family, let's do it in Las Vegas. And so a lot of times you hear a lot of leaders say God, family first. But how many times do you have the opportunity to really put that in play? And so God gave us our baby. Family was important. And so I put that first. And so I moved to Las Vegas. My wife said, well, what are you going to do? You're this close to reaching your goal, which is to be a director of athletics. I said, you know what? I just refocus. This is more important to me right now.
Probably why you're where you are today. Other mentors that were key to your success?
I'll start with one. Today is her birthday. It's my grandmother who's passed a few years ago. So she was definitely a huge mentor.
Today is her birthday, actually.
Today is her birthday, actually. Okay. So she was a huge mentor. But let's go back to coaches. You know, the impact coaches have on your life. And I've had several good coaches, whether it was a running back coach from high school or my coaches in college. You have great people, but then also beyond that, I've also tried to step out of the normal, which is a lot of student athletes, they stick with their coaches or parents for mentors. I tried to identify other mentors and really tried to put my pride to the side. I use the word pride because it's hard sometimes to be a mentee. You know, when you have so many people looking at you for different things, especially from a student athlete standpoint. And so you have to be, I think the best leaders were always great mentees at some point. And so I've allowed myself to really listen to a lot of other people. Doesn't matter what industry they're in, what career they're doing, just how did you get there? I want to be curious about, man, how did you, I don't know, become a millionaire? You know, or a billionaire. I've had the opportunity to meet all types of people and just curious about what core values they had in place to get to where they're at.
I think that's really important. You know, you see a lot of athletes at a young age getting millions. You know, we talked about this. And even when you're a superstar athlete in college and high school and in pro, but I think everybody needs a mentor at every level of their life.
Absolutely. It's whether it's a mentor for, because now you're a married man.
Right.
You know, on best on how to be a husband. I've had mentors from that standpoint, how to be a better father, mentors from that, and as well as just within your career. And I think sometimes people don't see the word mentor as every aspect of your life. There's different people that you can place in your life for that reason. Because we all need to have either a listening ear or someone, or as I like to say, a truth teller. Someone's going to tell you, you know what, maybe you should take this route and not that route. Or just that good old-fashioned, you know, kick in the backside.
They need to be honest with you, right?
Exactly.
You need people that, you know, what they said, not the yes sir kind of people, right? They need to be able to critique you in a good way and advise you in a good way.
Absolutely. And that's what mentors do. Mentors provide positive criticism. As funny as that sounds, but it kind of goes back to the core values that we've established just in my family, and obviously they can carry over to professional. And I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to these kind of things, so it may sound corny, but I do a lot of stuff with my heart, so I wanted to have you know, something that really meant to me from that standpoint. So the H stands for hardworking. E is excellence with integrity. Won't compromise my integrity for excellence. The A stands for accountability, and that accountability not just for the things that you may do wrong, but also take the time to acknowledge the things that you've done right. You know,
that's amazing.
I
love that.
Yeah, and R stands for respect, and the T is teamwork, because we can't do all this by ourselves.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say that, it's like, I tell everyone that is, you can't do everything.
Exactly.
Right? And you can't be afraid to ask for help. I think a lot of us, especially when you're feeling like you're like the best, the greatest, or whatever, you think that you know everything. And till this day, I always feel like I need to learn something new every day.
Absolutely.
And I learn from people that are at least 15 years older than me, and I learn from people that are 15 years younger than me. My friends is always, a range of age and very, very diverse.
I agree.
Yeah. Talk about BlackFire.
Yes.
Talk to us about that. I was at an event the other day, which was amazing. You see a lot of tech people that were in there. I'm actually part of Tech Alley as well.
Yeah.
And I do a panel which is called Tech Alley Youth Hour, and I bring entrepreneurs that are seasoned entrepreneurs and youth entrepreneurs under the age of 21. And a lot of us were there that night.
Yes.
At a pitch event. But there's a lot of other things that's going on there, and talk about that and how that is involved with UNLV.
Absolutely. So BlackFire Innovation is a UNLV project. So it's definitely on Technology Park, so here at Reed Technology Park, land that was granted to us probably about 10 years ago. Now we have taken that land, and we have probably $1.3 trillion in businesses that are actively moving into what we call Technology Park.
Oh, wow.
So Technology Park allows us to do a couple different things. One is to have our faculty and students work together with industry, collaborate with industry for today's and tomorrow's world. And so that's different innovation that you'll see in different aspects. BlackFire focuses on hospitality and gaming. And so that allows our students and our faculty to come in and work with different entrepreneurs or industry experts, subject matter experts that are within hospitality and gaming. And a lot of that happens to be technology. If you recall being there, you probably saw some games around.
Yeah.
All those games were designed and built by students. Working with different industry partners.
I did not know that.
Exactly.
Wow.
So there's also gives us the ability to work with industry about testing sites.
Okay.
And so also we have the Small Business Development Center there, house there as well as one of our partners. Okay. And in doing so, we get to not only meet entrepreneurs, but also invite different companies to really understand how Las Vegas works and how they can have an impact on our community, moving in new businesses so they can have the opportunity to test their product, but also maybe just have a space there in BlackFire where they can say, you know what, I never thought about being in Las Vegas because I only saw it as the Strip, but there's so much more to what we do.
Yeah.
And also it takes a lot of different people to run that engine, which is the Strip. And so because of the Strip, it's opened up so many different opportunities to what we can do in this community. And also they see the great work that our students are doing, our faculty are doing. So BlackFire gives us that opportunity to really capitalize on those relationships. And also gives us this opportunity through my department, which is Sports Research and Innovation, where we can also do the same thing. So we want to replicate the success that BlackFire has as far as that collaboration through faculty, students, and industry.
Okay.
We want to provide those same opportunities, but through sports, by offering one education, which we do already through our Intercollegiate and Professional Sports Management Master's Program. And so it's the first of our kind on our campus, led by my colleague, Dr. Nancy Lowe. So we'll continue to do classes of that nature, but also extend that to other partnerships that we can have in the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you see BlackFire in about 5 years? Where do you want to see it?
Well, BlackFire is going to continue to grow. I think really the real question is, how do we see Tech Park? So I see Tech Park, you'll see new companies, whether they're local, extending their reach to other parts of the city, or
and I'm sorry to interrupt, but the Tech Park is the land that's still behind it. It's not developed yet.
Tech Park is the land that BlackFire is on.
Yes,
so there's land that hasn't been developed
yes.
yet. So there's about another, I believe, 75 plus acres that needs to be developed. So with that, I think the future of it is because BlackFire is pretty much built out.
Right.
So now is what's the next BlackFire that UNLV has, and hopefully that'll be something through sports research and innovation.
Yeah. I can't wait to see, because I mean I remember being there when it first opened. I think it's been like 3 years ago.
Yes, you're exactly right.
And it wasn't fully, finished. So this was the first time that I went back since, and I was like, wow,
it's grown a lot.
Cool.
So it's grown a lot, and now it's there's some great companies within that building, but also on the land that are building there.
Yeah.
And so I think the vision of not only our VP of Economic Development, Bo Bernhardt, and our president, Keith Whitfield, is to see that built out completely with some different anchors, not only just companies moving into our community, but also what else we can do with our, as it relates to sports research and innovation, and try to draw on those collaborations that we have in our city, but also those that may be outside of our city.
So how do companies or corporations, when they want to be involved, how do they do that? Like, they just give you guys a call? I mean, does it have to be certain type of companies that can be there?
No, I think they need to give us a call, and we evaluate that. Obviously, if it's BlackFire innovation, we want to stay within that hospitality and gaming piece of it. And because we have this work into sports, there's also an interest in sports from that standpoint until we can have a building also that can house all those sports initiatives as well. But I think it's just a matter of contacting our department, and we're directed in the right direction.
You want to throw out that email or phone number that they can call?
Well, I would say they can email me directly as well, which is j.vickers@unlv.edu.
Okay. I want to go back to talking about the first gen kids. In regards to them, I know you're big on, is that part of the foundation, or is this something that you actually initiated yourself?
Well, I think as relates to first generation students, that's just our campus makeup, right? So, and one of the things that I love about UNLV is I really understand and relate to those students.
Right.
Because then I'm also first gen myself, and there's a lot of people that are, and so those stats need to be heard about, but also understand their need. So, for example, one of the things that I have been a part of is what we call our SRI Special Events Internship Program. And one of our first partners is the Las Vegas Super Bowl Host Committee. And so that allowed us the opportunity to really say, look, there's this big event coming. It's called the Super Bowl. You may have heard of it.
I wish I had that when you know what I mean? Because that is a huge deal.
So the first ever in Las Vegas, played at Allegiant Stadium in 2024. And so when approached by the host committee executive director, Sam Joffrey, it was, hey, we want students, we want to get them involved. It's really exciting. And however, their budget was limited in that space. And historically, through the Super Bowl, it does look really good on your resume.
Yeah.
But in most cities, they don't have a strip. Meaning they don't have their students the opportunity to have other jobs that are there, and also considering that, as I stated earlier, our campus is 7-8 years running, we're the most diverse campus in the country. That is a great stat when you look at diversity, but also comes with other challenges when you look at our country and what a lot of minorities face when it comes to economic challenges from that standpoint. And considering a third of our students are first gen, another third is non-traditional students, I explained that to the host committee. I said, listen, we need to get the best of the best, we need to make sure we pay our students in some form or fashion. And so we determined to develop a matching program based on the budget that he had, presented it to the NFL Foundation. But the other true caveat was to say, listen, what if we also take that and we base it on DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, considering all the stats we talked about earlier. And what that means is we won't exclude anyone, but we want to make sure we can include as many people as possible so they have the opportunity to look at these jobs. A lot of times these opportunities come about, and because they're unpaid internships, most people say, yeah, it's great, it's going to get on my resume, but I can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
And that's typically what happens with a lot of minorities. And so they can't afford to do it. And we wanted to make sure also that we were, from an equity standpoint, that women knew that they can be a part of this historical event.
Yeah.
And so my job was to get out in front of as many people as possible, which we did. And once we presented to the NFL Foundation, they've never done that before. And they're saying, this is amazing. We should have done this already.
Yeah.
So luckily at UNLV, they're doing it first.
Brilliant.
And so they matched it.
Yeah.
United Way of Southern Nevada matched it as well.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so they're our first local community partner. So thank you, United Way of Southern Nevada.
Yeah.
And so they matched it. So we have a little over $300,000 to support this program.
Wow.
And so the goal is to hire 45 students between now and the start of the Super Bowl to work on the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And with the leadership of Sam and his team at the Las Vegas Super Bowl host committee, they're not just moving paper and putting up pens and pencils. They're really actively involved in putting together the world's greatest event, which is the Super Bowl here in Las Vegas. The students are getting paid $25 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, if it's an approved internship for a class credit, we will also pay 3 tuition credit hours.
Oh, wow.
So really great opportunity. And I'm proud to say that to date, we've hired 10 students. And out of those 10 students, it's probably one of the most diverse workforces you've ever seen.
And they're all undergrad?
They're all undergrad. Well, no,
is that the requirement?
They need to be a UNLV student.
Okay.
Probably minimum a junior.
Okay.
And they're also up to our masters, of course.
Okay.
So they could be PhD and masters. But I will tell you, the students who have applied, we just hired 6 new students. That's how we're at 10.
Mm-hmm.
And we had probably north of 80 students apply for 6 positions. And I got to tell you, all the students we interviewed were rock stars.
Okay.
Just absolute rock stars. Resumes were great. And it was a hard choice. There was a couple students that I will say that probably stood out among the rest, but they were really, really competitive. They did a great job. I was just really proud to be a Rebel.
So if I was to be in the MBA program at UNLV, I could qualify for that?
Yes, you could.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. If you were a student on our campus, you can qualify for it. Doesn't matter the age or anything of that difference. As a matter of fact, this round, I think we hired 5 females and 1 male.
Wow. Okay.
All diverse backgrounds.
That's amazing.
And it was really amazing.
It's a great program.
Great program.
Yeah.
I would tell you, our intercollegiate and professional sports management program, the students that represented that program, our student athletes that also applied, they did an outstanding job. You can tell that Dr. Lowe and her team are doing a great job in educating our students on the workforce and, the space of sport and understanding what that looks like.
And if people want to learn more about that, how do they find out about that?
As far as, again, they can email me. And part of what we do in sports research and innovation is our vision is to be the global intellectual hub of sports and entertainment. Okay. And what that means is when someone contacts either me directly or anyone that's associated with our team, our goal is if we can't answer the question, we'll get the answer to you or get you to the right department to ensure your needs are met. Okay. And that's kind of what a hub does, right? Yeah. And so we just want to be that front door or back door or side door to industry partners and students who are involved in sports-related research and innovation and get them to the right people so they can be successful.
Okay. I love that part. That's amazing. I think that's going to open up a lot of doors for you guys as well, right? To get the type of employees or students that you want. So.
And it's been outstanding. Yeah. And more importantly for me is to have our students have the opportunity to really see what it's like to put on one of the a large-scale event, and that so happens to be one of the top events in the world, which is the Super Bowl. Okay. And so they give them the opportunity to do that, but also be compensated for it, for their time. Again, this great learning experience is really what it's all about. It's how do we prepare our students not only for today, but also for tomorrow.
Perfect. So before, I want to bring in our CEO of Circle here to talk to you about some of the cool projects that you have going on and partnering with with Circle as well. But I have one more question before we bring in our CEO. This job that you have right now, this career path that you've been on, I think it's very inspiring to a lot of athletes, not just athletes, but first gens in general. Are there any advice that you would give? And I'm curious, is this that dream job that you've always wanted?
You know what? I can't say it was the dream job that I always wanted, to be candid. But I will say you never know where your path will lead you.
Yes,
you know?
Yes.
So you can't be
true.
You can't be afraid of the journey. To me, the fun part
Amen.
is the journey.
Yes.
A lot of times I've run into people, they want to know every step, what's around the corner, what's here, what's there.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to just go on faith. And faith, to me, is not luck. One of the things that Coach Host taught us is luck is really when opportunity meets preparation. And so the journey prepares you for the opportunities that you see, but also what you can't see.
Right.
And so I never saw this opportunity, but my journey prepared me for it. And that part of that journey was me being very curious, asking questions, rolling my sleeves up, working with my team, whether I'm the so-called leader or not, doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
But just trying to have those core values that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Staying consistent with those, and just having an open mind to learn more about the spaces you're in, and also learning from any mistakes you make. You don't go on a journey and don't find detours and take a few wrong turns here and there, thinking that was the right way when you could have just looked at the map or Google.
I think I've had a lot of detours and maybe a couple of wrong turns.
I'm not going to really listen to Google today.
Yeah.
I don't really think they know what they're talking about, and you take the wrong turn anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that happens too. I don't think anyone's immune to those situations, but once you get back on course, and I think that's the thing that people have to remember, and I say that to the students is, you're gonna run into some detours. You're gonna take a few wrong turns, but get back on course.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you may have to work a little bit harder to get back on course.
Yeah.
That's gonna take you being a mentee. That's gonna take you listening, some hard lessons, some humbling lessons, as you will. But once you get back
a couple of those.
Of course. But once you get back on course, I think you'll start to realize exactly where you need to be.
Absolutely.
Regardless of where you think your goal is.
Yeah.
Your journey is gonna help you get there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing
thank
that.
you.
I feel like I could talk to you probably a lot longer, but we're on a time frame here.
No worries.
So I'm going to bring Sean Garrity,
Okay.
and then you guys can talk about some really good fun stuff.